This is the Sales Bible Podcast, episode 480, How to Get a Handle on Objection Handling.
Welcome to Sales Babble, the podcast that shares selling secrets for non-sellers. And now your host, Pat Helmers.
Hello, Sales Babblers. This is Pat Helmers. And if you've had any experience in sales, you know that sometimes closing a deal is harder than walking a dog through a forest of squirrels. Around every turn, they're tugging the leash, wrapping it around your legs, wrenching your wrists, and once in a while, slipping out of the collars, and it's off to the races. Well, what's a seller to do? It can be frustrating working with a prospect that won't buy, nor will they say they won't buy. They just can't make up their mind. So how do you get a handle on objection handling? That's the topic for today. But before we get to today's story, make sure and subscribe to the podcast on whatever app that you're listening to. Or maybe you're on the website. If so, subscribe to the newsletter. Once you get on our email list, you'll get weekly reminders. You'll never miss an episode. And so, with no further ado, let's get to it. And now for today's chapter, Objection Handling. In pursuit of a deal, every day an objection appears. In pursuit of closing a deal, each day an objection is dropped. Can I afford it? Do I have to take it as it is? Does this work with what I have? Can I have it with a modification? Will my people accept the change? What's the ROI? Let objections tumble until non-objection is achieved. This is closing the sale. And now today's story. Chris was frustrated with the Lee deal. Chris first met them 6 months ago. In the 3 sales meetings since, Lee has consistently pushed back with objection after objection. In frustration, Chris said to Pat, "No matter how many questions I answer, Lee comes up with another issue that stops them from buying. They're just making excuses and wasting my time." "Hardly," said Pat. "If they're not interested, they wouldn't keep agreeing to meet. Every objection is actually a signal for more information." "Really?" said Chris. "Absolutely," said Pat. "They want to buy. They've already made that decision. They just want to know that if they pull the trigger, they won't regret it. Buckle up. This could take a while, but with time and patience, you can close this deal." Lao Tzu said, quote, "In pursuit of knowledge, every day something's added. In the practice of the Tao, every day something is dropped." End quote. This is true for buyers too. When buyers first learn about a new product, they're excited to see if it's the answer to their prayers. At the same time, they're filled with an abundance of concerns. It's a fact that the world is ever-changing. Nevertheless, fear of change is the primary buyer concern. So how do you address this? You just have to accept it. Accept that anxious buyer and all their anxious apprehensions. But keep in mind that objections are signposts that the buyer secretly wants to buy. Be the patient seller, answer all the objections, and in time, it will all work out. To get a copy of today's chapter, you can find it in the show notes at www.salesbabble.com. And while you're there, if you have a question about this episode or any other episode, click the Babble Me button and that will send a message directly to me. I would love to hear from you. Lastly, if you could do me a favor and share this episode with somebody, some friend, just one person that you know is looking to grow their sales skills, I would really appreciate it. Word of mouth is the best way to grow a podcast. Well, folks, that's all I've got for today. Until next time, take care and have a successful and a profitable selling day.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Babble podcast. Find us at www.salesbabble.com.
This is a production of Habanero Media.